What's up, guys? This is your boy Panic Knife here with theawfulgamer.com, and today I'm going to be exploring Nightmare Mode EC, Zorn and Toth, and this is a gimp-ass strategy for beating the bosses. It helps you avoid a lot of the mechanics that make this this fight pretty tough. Now, the only difference that you're going to have in this mechanic versus the normal fight is that you are going to sometimes run up against Enrage, just because of the fact that the way you're gimping it ends up screwing things up a little bit in terms of your DPS. Now, what you're going to end up doing is knocking the bosses down into, you're going to start the fight off normally. You're going to knock them down to, I believe it's when Toth gets down to 81%, and he's going to go Berserk. Now, what you'll do at that point is all the DPS will switch away from Zorn and onto Toth. All 4 DPS are going to be on the boss, and you're going to keep him in this Enrage mode. This he does this Berserk type thing, and Zorn will throw rocks at people. As you can see, the purple sphere on the ground there, and you're just gonna, instead of breaking it out by putting somebody, having somebody put that thing underneath those feet, you're just gonna leave him in this Berserk mode. Now, the reason why I say that it will screw up and run into Enrage is the fact that when he's in this Berserk mode, he does add armor, so your DPS will be lower. Actually, I normally parse around 1900, 2000 DPS on this fight when we're doing it normally, but when we do it on this gimp mode, I only parse about like 1000 when I'm on Toth, I guess. No, I guess is it Toth? Yeah, it's Toth. So when I'm on Toth during this part right here, I won't parse as high, and therefore you guys really need to push DPS or else you're going to hit Enrage. Now, the only little tricky mechanic here, even in terms of healing, because of the fact that he doesn't do a ton of damage, it's not any more than normal. The only trick is that the tanks, if the main tank, the person with aggro, gets the yellow debuff, he needs to move out of the way, and the other tank needs to taunt on and basically move the thing away from him so it doesn't break the Berserk phase. Otherwise, this is pretty simple. You're going to take Toth down to 15%, switch all of your DPS over onto Zorn. And actually, we ended up a little bit earlier than that. We left one of our melee around 30% to just continue on the boss, and the tanks will continue on Toth during this whole period. So you'll move the most of your DPS over onto Zorn at this point, and then go ahead and burn him down. Now, when you get closer to Zorn, we'd actually spread the bosses out a little bit, if you saw there. When you get close to Zorn, he'll start to do random rock throws, not just the circle rock throws, but also normal Baradium Heave for random damage. You're going to want to make sure you stack up for AoE heals, and make sure that you just move that circle out of the way, and pretty much that's it. You'll keep burning down the boss. The tanks are going to stay over and continue to tank Toth, because he's going to be the one who does most of the damage. But for the most part, you just keep DPSing it down. Now, like I said, you're going to probably end up hitting Enrage. It's unfortunately kind of one of those things that you can't really avoid in this, just because of the fact that it's going to gimp the shit out of your DPS that he's in his little his stupid Berserk phase. But that being said, you're only going to really, if you have any kind of a decently geared group, which I assume if you're going to be doing Nightmare Mode EC, you're going to have a pretty well-geared group, you can usually survive a good, 10-15 seconds of that hard Enrage on Zorn and Toth, and then once you finally get down to that the last little bit with the dumb boss guy, it's not a big deal at all. Now, as you can see, every once in a while my damage will spike down to like I think the random Baradium Heaves do something like 8, 9, 10,000 to me, and there's no channel, so you're not going to be able to tell when it's coming, so you can't really shroud it or use the shield probe or anything like that. But as long as you have healers that are both focusing on the tanks but also focusing on the DPS, they have to keep their eyes on the tanks, clearly, because they're still taking the normal damage from Toth. But as long as you got pretty aware healers that are that will basically make sure that the AoE heals bring everybody up, but also the people that need to get topped off get topped off. It's simple, And we actually were able to do this our first night into EC Nightmare Mode. We were able to finish it on, I think, the 3rd try, and the first couple of wipes were just due to the fact that we needed to get down that tank swap mechanic where if one of the person gets, you know, Berserk, or gets the Radium Heave, the other tank needs to talent off, that sort of thing. So I would highly recommend that you use this thing if you're going to be going in Nightmare EC. You don't really have a lot of confidence that your people are going to be able to deal with the quick ground shatter mechanic, or if you have a lot of melee in your group, something like that. This is a great way to handle it. Now, if you have melee that's going to be on Toth the entire time, he does do a ground stomp that will kind of hurt you guys. When you hit, see, we actually hit hard and rage right there, and I got my ass smacked by one of those rock throws. But we were already down to just about the end here. As you can see, I had switched over and onto Toth at this point to try to even out DPS, but once you get the linked enrage plus the hard enrage, it does hurt. Now we're over here and fighting the last little bit here. You can't interrupt the guy like you used to be able to, but he's still not really that hard. He does a little bit of damage. You know, he has the death from above that he does. But other than that, it's a pretty simple little fight. It's just it's one of those things that make sure you didn't limp into the finish line with one person, something like that. But yeah, that's pretty much it. That's Nightmare Mode EC, Zorn and Toth. That gets you 2 earpieces of the hazmat variety. So GG and happy loot. So anyway, with theawfulgamer.com, this is your boy Panic Knife. Hope you guys enjoyed the video and have a nice night.
Oh my god. We're so late.
Oh my god.